Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Film Angle. I am Kris,
And I'm Alex.
and this week we decided that'd be a great idea if we just caught up on a bunch of films on our watch list, didn't we?
Yeah, there's been a whole bunch of new streaming releases and some very interesting films out there for everybody to watch in their homes right now. And yeah, we've both been catching up on them, haven't we?
And Alex, if you're anything like me, then you'd know that I have absolutely no pattern in my watching habits. I mean, when my films that I caught up with this week were one, Turning Red, The Bride of Frankenstein, Kimi, and The Eyes of Tammy Faye, all completely different films.
Yeah, that is quite a mix. I mean, mine's not much different. I also caught up with Turning Red. Caught up with Lamb, which is on Mubi, the Icelandic kind of folklore weird film. That one. The Rescue, which is on Disney Plus. Kimi, which you can buy on YouTube, is where I bought that one, and then the Adam Project, which is also on Netflix, which is just a whole weird mix of films. But yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff to watch at home right now. Like, COVID really changed the way people release things, and like shortening the window between things being released in cinemas and then released at home. And you know what? Sometimes like, I love the cinema, and I'll always advocate for going to the cinema. But sometimes it is nice just to catch these films in the comfort of your own home.
And do you have a kind of criteria or like a set of rules when it comes to deciding what you're going to watch?
Yeah. I mean, anything weird like Lamb has to be once my fiance M's gone to bed, because she won't appreciate the weird films.
Oh no, she's not an A24 fan, right?
Well, not with Lamb. I don't think she would have enjoyed Lamb. I mean, I didn't enjoy Lamb.
That
to get-
yeah, that one's I haven't seen it myself, but by the looks of it, kind of it's for the avid cinephile that really is ready to go along with the ride for anything.
Yeah, like it was lights down low. Put your phone away. Everything has to be quiet. No toilet breaks. I want to watch it as if I'm in a cinema with a slightly smaller screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it in the dark. But yeah, that's how I watch things. I'm not really I can't be doing something at the same time, really. I mean,
No.
occasionally, because I think like the way we watch things now, and being at home does mean that like you can check your phone. And I think that's where like slower films like Lamb, it can be a struggle sometimes. Like when it hits a lower peak, you're like, oh, I could just quickly look at my phone, and yeah, that's why I like doing it later at night, because I'm better at like training myself to not do that later at night. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but that's just how it works.
Do you find that you sort of like your body or your mind, as soon as it hits at 9 p.m. sort of time, it actually wakens up and you can hone in on things a bit better? I feel like I hit like a next level where I'm like, right, I come home from dinner. For dinner, I'm a bit knackered, and then since 9 o'clock, right, I can watch and consume anything. I can stay up till 2 in the morning easily if I wanted to, and just watch movies all night.
Yeah, I mean, I still try and limit myself to a midnight finish. I'm just an old man now, so that's how it goes. It
Well,
used to be, I'd
during the
say.
week.
See, I'm not really a big during the week guy. I kind of, no, I need my sleep for work, and I might watch like a documentary or something during the week, or like an easier film. So like we watched the Adam Project on Monday.
Oh yeah,
Because
the Ryan Reynolds movie.
yeah, we actually started it on the Sunday, but we just weren't like, you could tell we weren't in the headspace for a film. So we're like, we'll just watch it tomorrow, and that's quite an easy one just to watch over dinner. So like, it's on a weekend, like on a Friday, Saturday. It's very much like a good easy film over tea, and then go into like a darker, weirder, usually streaming on Mubi film
Yeah.
later in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think it's also when you're living with a partner who maybe doesn't have as extreme affinity for movies as you do. During the week, you like to dedicate the free time you have to your loved ones and your partner, as opposed to the weekend where you're like, I could spend half the day with my girlfriend or with my boyfriend, and then I can have my 2 hours where I watch my own thing. You don't feel as guilty for doing it, do you?
No, for sure.
But I'd say I'm quite good at forcing myself to watch any kind of movie. Some even during the week, like sometimes to my detriment, I would say it could be like 10 o'clock on a working night. I'm like, this 3 hour film is no problem. I can totally do that. I'm gonna get up at 6:30 tomorrow. I can function on 5 hours. It's fine. Coffee it up.
Tell me about Turning Red, Chris. I really liked it, and I get the feeling you probably did as well.
I loved it. I absolutely love Turning Red. I think it's one of the best Pixar movies to come out in the last few years. Right, okay. I think everyone else in the world probably caught up with Turning Red over the weekend. It came out in Disney Plus, dropped on there. I'm surprised it didn't get a theatrical release.
Disney have been dropping their Pixar films over the last couple of years just straight onto streaming, which is a little bit sad, really, because they've had some really beautiful looking films come out, and
Mm.
they have been doing more originals recently than their kind of sequels and stuff, which they kind of did a lot of in their early days of being bought out by Disney. And I like original Pixar. Original Pixar's the best. They really try new things all the time.
Yeah.
And Turning Red and Luca were great. Onwards, I wasn't as big a fan of, but I still like the fact that it was an original. Like keep trying different things. But yeah, these are two great Pixar films that have come out in the last couple of years now.
Yeah, and they both have really distinct energies. Luca has got that more. It's pretty easy. Everybody is saying, right, oh, Luca is like the American Ghibli movie. But actually, it actually does fit that category really well. It has that really sort of slow, pondering pace to it, which in a good way, it's stop and smell the flowers. And it's just like, I like Italians on Vespas as much as the next guy. I mean, like, that's just an aesthetic that I'm always going to be up for. And the same thing for Turning Red. Turning Red amps the energy up and has a bit more of like a Mitchell's versus the Machines sort of comedic energy to it.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's probably due to the age of May, who's 13 and
Hmm.
hitting puberty and becoming a teenager. She's like very much in that age. Like the music she listened to is high tempo and all this kind of stuff. So it's a more high tempo film.
Uh
I
huh.
really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being in that mindset. Yes, I don't live in Toronto. I'm not Asian American or Asian Canadian, but you can empathize with the thing she's going through, even as much as just like wanting to go to the concert and her parents not letting her. Like that's, I think everybody goes through that phase of like wanting to go out by the and see something with their friends, and that kind of difficulty of being that age where it's not always possible. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, and I think it's the first sort of modern Pixar Disney movie that kind of doesn't feel like it's pandering and it isn't box ticking. It does feel like it's coming from a place from a genuine perspective, like it comes from somebody who has lived that sort of life. And I comes across on the screen, and the humor it knocks out of the park all the time.
Yeah, I think as soon as it said it was set in 2002, right?
Yeah,
Um, I like throughout the film, I was thinking, oh, I wonder why they've set it in 2002, and there's not really a specific reason so much. Maybe it's to do with the technology at the time, so like the not having amazing access on mobile phones and stuff like that. But to me, it felt that choice felt very personal. Like the director was telling a story about her own growing up
yeah.
potentially. Domi Shi is the director, but I'm not sure if she wrote it as well. No, she does have a writing credit. I've just seen she has a writing credit as well. So it would make sense that
That
potentially
makes sense.
this is quite a personal story to her.
I think they probably focused on that sort of time frame as well because, like you said, the lack of technology. It whenever you're making something like a modern animated film that's set in today's age and it's focusing on pre-teenage adults, it's unavoidable. You're going to have to make technology and phones and how we access social media online is going to have to be a big part of what makes the movie work. And when you remove that from the movie, you can actually just focus in on the story and focus on the relationships more without having to focus on an element that you have to adhere to.
Yeah, plus I think like the way media portrays teenagers these days is less innocent. So everybody goes into a high school drama and expects a euphoria, which who
Yeah.
knows might be closer to the truth. It's been a while since we've been in school.
Are you a big like really good vocal performances in this? Like I love Sandra Oh, but did you recognize James Hahn in there as well?
What a great performance from him. Instantly recognizable voice.
Yeah, I mean, what that guy must be. I was watching the movie and I was like, "Is that James Hahn?" I mean, isn't that guy like 200 years old now? like voiceover legend, of course. Like we love him in other animated movies like Mulan, like Kung Fu Panda. He's which is a personal favorite performance of mine, where he plays Jack Black's dad Goose in it.
Yeah, yeah,
The movie just kicks ass. Exactly what I needed on a Friday night, and the ending's so good. The
yeah.
ending's so good.
It's quite short as well. It's like a short, sweet film, like very inoffensive, just ready to kind of warm your heartstrings, take you back to your childhood. Yeah, show you a good time. Obviously, great animation. Pixar are just they can't do wrong at this point. They've got the technology behind them.
Mm.
Everything just looks incredible all of the time.
I'm not over reliant on the technology either. They're changing the phase of their aesthetic. I think from Luca was the start of that, and this sort of feels like an extension of Luca's aesthetic that I had.
And then yeah, we got Lightyear later this year from them, which is an interesting kind of like not a sequel, not a but kind of a prequel.
It's not right. We had to think. It's not about the toy, right? It's about the actual Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah,
Were you a Buzz Lightyear kid?
I mean, I was a Toy Story kid, definitely. Like I had a Buzz, I had
Yeah,
a Woody, I had a Slinky. Like
I had a Rex. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like I was definitely a Toy Story kid. So I'm looking forward to this. But yeah, no, it's weird. Whatever timeline.
Well, did you ever watch the cartoon spin-off series, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command?
Yes, I did. I mean, I couldn't tell you anything from it. I don't remember it that well, but I do remember watching it.
Oh, I had it all on DVD, and the theme tune is still like logged in my head. Had the video game and everything, so I'm sort of invested in watching this new movie. I'm pretty excited. I'm a Buzz Lightyear kid, still at heart.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because of how it's being portrayed, and obviously not about the toy, about the man who inspired the toy, or potentially the film that inspired the toy. We're not really sure at this point. No, it looks interesting. Looks very interesting. Pixar are always great. I'm never not going to watch a Pixar film at this point. Like they were such a big part of our childhood growing up. I'll watch anything that they bring out. If even if it's Cars 2, I'll go see it.
What, a re-release of Cars 2? You're
Well,
mad.
no, I probably wouldn't see the re-release. I'm just saying, like, most of the time you get like an Incredibles or a Monsters Inc. Or like today you get Turning Red. But every now and then you get a Cast 2 or you get an Onwards. But doesn't shatter my enjoyment of these films.
Isn't Cars 3 your favorite Pixar movie of all time?
It's not, but I really love Cars 3. I think Cars 3 is a great film. And if you went Cars 1 and Cars 3 and just cut out 2, they're both. I love Cars 1. I love Cars 3.
I know you love Cars 3. I mean, a few years ago, I remember when it was released, we were both at work. You came in the morning. We were all around a staff meeting. Alex comes in, jumps in. Guys, have you seen Cars 3? I cried.
All right, I wasn't gonna tell everybody in the podcast listening that I cried at Cars 3, okay?
No joke. Everybody around the table just looks at Alex dumbfounded. Like the guy, like he just came in off the street and just said the most random thing ever.
Oh man, leave me
No,
alone.
we love you. We love you for your weird idiosyncrasies,
If
Alex.
there's any other Cars 3 lovers out there, please back me up. So I think it's a really really good film.
What else did you catch up on?
Well, I did touch very briefly on Lamb, which I don't think you've seen yet. It's getting pretty mixed reviews. I just like to very
Hmm.
quickly review Lamb, which is a kind of folklore, creepy fairy tale about this couple that find like this. One of their sheep gives birth to this half lamb, half human thing, which they kind of take on as their daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it's like an hour and a half. It's a pretty swift film, but the premise would really lend itself to a short film. Like if you gave me a 20-minute, 30-minute film with this premise, it makes sense because as soon as the kind of mystery is gone in terms of like, and if you've seen the trailer, you know it's a half sheep, half human child.
Yeah.
There's only so far you can take that premise without adding anything new, but the kind of specialness of the film goes like, oh my god, it's a half human, half child. How do people react to this?
Do you think a part of the problem is that there's this promise because it's an A24 movie and the way the sort of the poster gives off that sort of vibe that it is going to be like a horror movie and maybe it's not necessarily that movie that you're expecting it to be?
No, I mean there's definitely some creepier moments, but yeah, it's definitely not a horror film. It's just kind of a almost like a gothic Scandinavian slow burn family drama fairy tale, or but not with a happy ending. It's just it's too slow. It feels like they had an idea and they delivered
And they
on
dragged it out.
they delivered on that idea, but they dragged it out. Yeah, and
Yeah.
as soon as you start to see more of the lamb child, it doesn't look
Gets sillier.
well. They decide to CGI it, and it doesn't look good.
Mm.
It doesn't look good, and you think, well, if this is what the film's about, if you knew you couldn't make the lamb child look good, maybe you shouldn't have done it. I mean, I don't want to hate on it. Like it looks beautiful, and but yeah, I would have preferred the short film version of this film.
No, I'm definitely going to catch up on it. I mean, it's one that's been on my watch list for ages. I think the big thing that's driving me to watch it is the fact that Numi Rapace is in it. I'm a big fan of her. If she wasn't in it, I probably end up not catching up with it. I
Yeah,
think a lot of us would be guilty of that.
yeah, she's great. She's great. But yeah, it's a lot of staring out into the distance and slow stuff. So, like, if
Mm.
catch up with it because I know some people have found a good experience out of it. But for me, just I just wasn't feeling it.
Alex, this year I'm taking it upon myself to be a good little cinephile and clean my act up a little bit.
All right.
So the fact that there is a disgustingly huge patch of blind spots in the films I've watched over the years is really starting to grate on me. So I'm planning to kick it off with starting with a big one. I'm currently begun picking off at the Universal monster movies. So I'm talking your Invisible Mans, your Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy. But I kicked it off the other week with Frankenstein,
Yeah.
which for a movie that is just shy of 90 years old worked really really well for me. But when I caught up with its sequel last weekend, The Bride of Frankenstein, I was even more surprised. I mean, like, I've always been aware of the iconography of the bride with her lightning struck hair and that big image that we're used to and how striking that is and ingrained into our minds even as popular culture. But Christ, I wasn't expecting it to be as killer as it ended up being. It opens up with this really surreal scene where we actually aren't even in the movie yet. We are sitting down with Mary Shelley herself in her home with her friends as she gives us a rundown recap of what happened in the first Frankenstein movie and where this new story is going. Like, we literally have flashback clips. I mean, that's got to be like the first time that was ever done. Like, I can sort of remember in cinema, and we can sort of see the DNA of every major blockbuster movie or sequel that we watch today kind of borrows from that, where she reveals that Frankenstein and his monster, who were previously thought to be dead at the end of the last movie, actually aren't. They survived the fire that was supposed to consume them, and now the monster is on the loose. And now our story begins. But what makes this movie stand out to its predecessor is just how much more honed in it is at what it's trying to do. Like, the art direction and camera work is I was so unexpectedly masterful. The humor comes through even better, and the movie just gives the monster way more to do, fleshes him out, and only underlines the tragedy even more. Again, I expected it. I appreciate. I had to, I fell over heels, head over heels for it, and should be a must watch for anybody who even considers themselves a fan of movies.
Well, you've sold me. You've sold me. I don't think I've seen any of the Universal monster movies. Again, massive blind spot for me. And you've made me want to do the same. You've made me want to catch up with them. Like, yeah, that sounds great.
It's good. Like, there is a lot to go through, but they're not really much of an undertaking. Like, most of them are a lean 70 to 80 minutes. They're pretty entertaining, pretty campy, but they can surprise you. Like, you think they're going to be one thing, and you're like, oh my, yeah, this is great craft, and it's really easy to watch. Actually, pretty good. Like I said, if you're struggling to watch something middle of the week, you got an hour to spare or so. Do you want to stick one of these on? Yeah, really good, and also you feel like you put another little pin on your movie watching cap as well.
What's the next one? What's the next one in the timeline of this
Well,
universe?
actually, Frankenstein isn't the first one. If you're thinking timeline wise, I think the first one is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is a silent era film. So I'm just kind of doing them at my own pace. I'm just kind of going in a random order. But I think I'm going to do The Invisible Man next. That
Yeah.
seems like a really big one. I've always wanted to watch too, and I think after watching um, Adam Driver do his cosplay in Marriage Story the other year, I'm like, I want to catch up on that movie, so I can
Nice.
get that. I can watch Marriage Story, and I can laugh and get that reference even more.
Have you seen the new Invisible Man? The one from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've watched it twice. It's great.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah, no, it kind of does make me want to go back to the original just to see how different they are, which I imagine is very different. But it sounds like the kind of modern take just took what people loved about the first, modernized it, and kind of made it this new interesting thing. So yeah, I think they're trying to. They've been trying for a while to kind of bring back the Universal monsters, haven't they?
Oh my goodness. No, this is a conversation like that's worth having. I love this seedy underbelly of the dark universe as we're
Yeah,
as
it's
it
kind
seems
of
to be
like
called.
tried and failed, but now they're kind of doing it again.
Are they?
I think so. I think they've got the Wolfman lined up, and I'm pretty sure they've got Ryan Gosling attached to that.
Because they did this thing where obviously they started off with Tom Cruise in The Mummy, which was I haven't caught up with it,
No,
but I've seen enough to kind of form. I think I can safely form an opinion. Not a good movie. And they did this big, huge Vanity Fair shoot where they were really putting all their chips on the Universal Dark Universe thing, where they did a Vanity Fair shoot where all the actors you had Tom Cruise, you had Angelina Jolie was going to be the bride of Frankenstein. You had obviously Russell Crowe as Jekyll and Hyde, and Johnny Depp he was going to be the Invisible Man.
yeah, yeah, I think he
Yeah, so they did
was.
this big shoot. They shot all they did a photo shoot for all these guys. All of them were lined up. The Mummy flopped so hard they scrapped the whole thing.
Yeah, and didn't they? They did. Was it like Dracula Rising, Dracula Uprising, like the year before, which
I
was
think
like
that's a separate thing.
it was a separate thing, but I'm pretty sure once they did the Mummy, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to bring that into the universe as well." Because at the end of it, they had like a modern day Charles Dance. I might be speaking out my ass right now.
That's
Uh,
Dracula Untold, isn't that? That's like
Dracula Untold. That's the one.
yeah the Luke Evans movie, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were trying to add that to the thing, but obviously hadn't thought about it. It probably came out same year as Avengers, and then everything post Avengers, everybody wanted their own universe,
Yeah,
and I don't, apart from DC's, half-hearted attempt at one, none of them really kind of picked up any kind of momentum.
yeah. I don't know. It's kind of half a good idea, but half of it's just soulless corporate, cashing in.
Oh, it's
But
all
I guess you
greed.
could, yeah, great. There's a great element. But I guess when I was talking about the Bride of Frankenstein a little bit, I mean, you could see the forming of a franchise. I guess the Universal movies were sort of like the first ever franchise, like the first universe. If you think about it, they were like a collective thing where all these monsters were like, then you go to Universal parks now and all the monsters are there in a row and everything. It is like the first sort of line of it was like the original Avengers sort of thing in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I can get why they wanted to do it, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. All I'm picturing right now is that meme of Tom Cruise screaming in an airplane.
Did you see the trailer they accidentally released, which only had like Tom Cruise's
Yeah,
like screams in it? Oh,
yeah.
so
That's the only
good.
audio it has.
Yeah, there's like no music. They kind of I don't know how you release something like that. I feel like it was a bit of a, oh, we accidentally released this so everybody watches it and just hears Tom Cruise's screams in it.
That's a really interesting idea because I don't know about the test screenings they had for it, but I imagine they weren't good, and they probably knew they were onto a real stinker, so they probably try to get at it from another angle. That's an interesting thought, but maybe you're probably giving them too much credit.
I don't know. I don't know how anything leaks these days, and that's with inverted quotes, not inverted, with quotes. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it was would have been a clever marketing campaign had it paid off, but clearly it bombed very, very hard. So a film we've both seen this weekend. I heard you
I don't
mention,
want to talk about
Chris.
something we've both seen.
Well, I think it's more interesting for the audience, don't you think? If we've both seen it,
Fine.
we've both seen Kimi, Steven Soderbergh's latest film.
Loved it. Very good.
See, I feel like Steven Soderbergh is like one of the most consistently good film directors.
Yeah.
Just like I would say, 90% of his films are very good. They never reach. Not a lot of them reach like special, like masterpiece standard for me, but they're always
Yeah.
really enjoyable, very, very well made films.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I mean, I really like most of his movies. Like you can put on a Soderbergh movie and you're pretty much you're guaranteed that you're gonna at least like it or appreciate it in some way. Like he's just somebody who really loves film. He loves film and he really just tried to reinvent. He's trying to reinvent himself every time. He's like, what if I dabble in this genre? What if I dabble a little bit of that? Can I be successful in doing that? And yeah, this is another example of just his really good dexterity and how great he is with the medium.
Yeah, and it stars Zoe Kravitz,
Yeah,
or Kravitz, who we spoke about last episode on our Batman review. She's brilliant. She's brilliant in Batman, and she's brilliant here as well.
yeah, she's having a great time at the minute, isn't she? I mean, she's coming out of the woodwork. So she's been around. Like you think back to, I think Mad Max Fury Road was the first thing I saw her in,
Yeah,
where she played one of the brides. But yeah, this last year she's been doing so well.
yeah, and here she plays like an agoraphobic person who she can't leave the house, and it involves the pandemic.
Hmm.
The COVID-19 pandemic has set her phobia back and set her mental health back, and it's really interesting because as much as there's a lot of imagery that invokes the pandemic that we've been through, it's kind of the first film with COVID in it that's not really about COVID. It's more about technology and
Yeah,
like like an Amazon or a Google type company that's very bureaucratic and a little bit sneaky, and that leads into some kind of like different scary scenarios when she hears a recording of somebody being killed and sexually assaulted, which isn't great.
yeah, it plays on our worst fears, doesn't it? I mean, we've all had that thought, like having that Alexa device in our rooms or anything like that. You're like, I know this is you're in the back of your mind like, no, it's stupid. They wouldn't be doing something like that. But what if they were listening to us even when we're generally not giving instructions to the device? What if we're just chatting in the room? I got the plug on the Alexa and it's picking up voice recordings. In the movie Kimmy, that is a reality.
We've all been there where we've said something and the next minute we're being advertised it on Facebook, and you're wondering, are they listening to us?
Which scares me every time. I'm just talking about. I'm casually talking about this nice new shirt I want to get, and then suddenly I get an advert for exactly the shirt I just described. It's creepy. It's creepy. Is it coincidence? I don't know.
They tell us they're not, but nah, I don't believe them. There's definitely more going on here.
It's certainly something. It's the thing that unsettled me for the film, but it also, it's a thriller, and I take it at face value, and I think I accepted it as an alternate reality, and I like to think the better of people, probably just so I can have a better night's sleep.
Yeah, it's one of those sci-fis where it's very, very plausible and really not too far-fetched in the
Hmm.
slightest, which is probably the scariest thing. I love sci-fis like this. They
See, I
really
didn't think of it as a sci-fi, but that kind of makes sense actually. I didn't think of it. I thought of it more just as like a tech thriller, but I guess it is a sort of sci-fi if you think about it. It's just like a surreal parallel to our own world, isn't it? It's like it's not.
it's only heightened by like 5%, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like. Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of falls into both, really, doesn't it? I saw it as a sci-fi, but you're right. It is a bit more of a tech thriller, I guess. Really, really good. Really, really good. Chris, you like Ryan Reynolds?
a reserved yes. A reserved yes. I have days where I'm like, I can handle Ryan Reynolds, and I have days where I'm like, ugh, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Not tonight. Tomorrow.
Are you going to catch up on the Adam Project?
I probably am, but then there's also like 10 other Ryan Reynolds movies I'll never catch. I say I'm going to catch up on, and I never am, which are probably they are just like earlier versions of this movie. I don't
Yeah.
want to assume already, but I still got to catch up on Free Guy. I mean, people say people like that movie, but the Adam Project, yeah, it'll be if I'm really stressed out, I wanted something to switch off on. I'll probably stick on Netflix and shove it on before it gets kind of too late.
Yeah, I mean, here he's teamed up with the director of Free Guy again, Sean Levy, um,
Oh, right, okay.
who's now just been tapped to direct the third Deadpool film as well. So I guess he's doing a trilogy of Ryan Reynolds films where Ryan Reynolds plays himself. This time with a child who kind of emulates his performance, which is interesting because he definitely nails Ryan Reynolds. But you know when you get a bit tired of the Ryan Reynolds shtick. Will say this though, I did like Free Guy. I think it's worth a watch. I didn't love it, but it's a
I
good
heard
fun
Comer's really
film.
good. I heard Jodie Comer's really good at
Yeah, yeah. If not like just weird seeing her in a blockbuster like that after, doing more
Killing Eve.
Killing Eve,
Um,
like, more higher regarded work. Not to sound like a snob, but Free Guy's not obviously, it's not going to be winning any awards anytime soon. But it is a good fun film, and it's probably the first film about video games that doesn't treat the audience like idiots. Like it feels like definitely had some people who have played video games make it before. Who have played video games have put their input into this film.
hmm. Yeah, I think you're disregarding an absolute masterpiece. The Adam Sandler movie Pixels. That movie is like that depict video games in a way that absolutely it went straight to my soul.
Well, I'll let you linger on that one. I'll let you linger on that one,
They
Chris.
use mini convertibles as ghosts for the giant Pac-Man. I mean, it's genius.
Okay, and I got made fun of for liking Cars 3.
No, I want to turn this around. I'm not actually a fan of Pixels.
Oh, okay.
For the record, I do not like Pixels.
I'm trying to think of like, have there been any other good video game movies? I know for a minute we all thought potentially Assassin's Creed might be, but that died a death.
I know because Jag Kersel is such a good filmmaker. Um, it's Jag Kersel, isn't it?
The guy did Macbeth with
Yeah, it's
yeah,
Jed
yeah,
Kersel,
with
the
Michael
Australian
Fassbender as
director.
well.
Yeah. Macbeth was great. I loved that. I saw that. I saw that in cinemas, and I was completely. I thought it was a really good version of that story. And he's supposed to have a really good film at the minute called Nitram.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, quite a small movie that's came out. I've only found it via via my letterbox page, but people are saying really good things about that.
Yeah, I don't think maybe you could argue Jumanji's a good video game, like the new ones.
Yeah,
Maybe you could argue they're good video game films.
Jumanji's good.
Yeah,
Jumanji's good. I really like Welcome to the Jungle. That's a good movie.
I haven't seen the latest, but I did like what they did
It's not as good. It's not as
with
good.
the first remake reboot sequel
Mm,
version with The Rock. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, would I recommend the Adam Project to you though? Probably not. It like for me, it just did the bare minimum of what a film needs to do to pass, and it passes. It's nice. It's inoffensive. It doesn't really do anything special for me. Um,
I'm falling asleep already. I don't want to watch that now.
yeah, do you know what? Just skip it. Skip it. Watch Free Guy instead. Free Guy is good. Um, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Reynolds, but yeah, it's sometimes it's a bit tiring.
I expected to really dig The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I don't know if you caught that movie. I mean, you had me at Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield, but boy, the fundamental thing that straight up just didn't work about that movie is that it's a film of completely two different halves. I mean, one part absurdist comedy that completely caricatures its central characters who are already larger than life anyway, right? So they jump out the screen, and then you never find your footing with the film because while watching it, you never know whether you should be laughing or not. Like which I don't think is on purpose, as the moments in that movie that focus on Tammy Faye as a character specifically are actually very emotionally charged by Chastain. He's giving a really good performance. She's mustering up all she can do, but it gets lost in the cacophony of everything else that's going on. Like the movie's over 2 hours long, and I still don't think I got to know her or any of the characters on a deep personal level. The movie also can't decide whether or not she's intelligent or not, which is an issue. It plays
Oh.
her as dumb, but maybe hints of like she knows what's going on. But it's hard. Like, am I supposed to find that endearing or not? It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Like, crazy, very watchable, but ultimately just fails at most of everything it's trying to do, which sucks because I was looking forward to that movie.
Tell me about Andrew Garfield. Is he good, Chris? You know I love Andrew Garfield. Should I be watching it for him alone?
He's good. He's good. He gives he gives it his all. It's funny because he's got, obviously it's very reliant on prosthetics for Chastain's character, but also his as well. He gets these cheek filler sort of prosthetics that make him sort of look like a chipmunk a little bit.
Okay.
So it's strange. It's kind of distracting. He's given it a really good, like, he's got a good sort of churchy southern drawl going on, which is quite entertaining. But again, like like that Jared, not maybe on the level of Jared Leto or anything like that, but it's got that energy where it's larger than life. It's distracting, and you find yourself more chuckling than actually kind of honing in on what I think the movie is trying to be, and which is trying to be a character study. Yeah, yeah. Pick what you want to be.
I think, despite maybe your more negative angle on the film, like, I haven't seen it, but you've made me want to still watch it. Like, this, it sounds like it's interesting despite maybe its downfalls. It's still interesting to kind of watch that play out.
Yeah.
And if anything, I'm still going to watch it for Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth watching. Like I said, it's very watchable. But you come out of the thing at the end going, "What was the point?" And you're like, "The point was Andrew Garfield."
I got Andrew Garfield, and that's enough done. Thank you.
What about? Is there anything else anything left on the list that we haven't talked about?
So the other film I watched this weekend was The Rescue. I don't know if you've seen that one yet. It's
Yes, it was nominated at the BAFTAs last weekend, wasn't it?
Was it? There you go.
For best documentary.
I can see that. Did it win?
No,
That's
I
a
don't know
shame.
what did win.
I,
Word, I don't remember.
So Summer of Soul won the best documentary BAFTA, which makes sense. That was also a very good kind of music documentary. The Summer of Soul was a music festival which kind of got forgotten about in a way because the footage wasn't there. I think it was the same year as Woodstock.
The same summer of Woodstock, yeah.
Yeah, same summer as Woodstock. I think it was at a time where tensions were very high. Martin Luther King had just been assassinated, and it was this festival of predominantly African American artists, like the legendary ones all coming together.
Yeah.
So watching that was this kind of celebration of culture, which had almost been forgotten, until these tapes had been found again by Questlove, who put together the documentary. So I can understand why that documentary won best at the BAFTAs there, because it's very interesting. The Rescue is maybe a little bit more of what you'd expect, a very procedural documentary, talking heads, narration, but it makes sense because it follows the rescue of the Thai soccer team that were trapped in a cave for 16 days back in 2018. I should know the year because I did just watch it. I'm pretty sure it's 2018.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. I remember that being plastered all over the news for a while.
Yeah, co-directed by Jimmy Chin, who did Free Solo, another incredible documentary. But this one, yeah, you probably know the story because we all lived through it. I think you'd have to be hiding under a rock not to have been emotionally invested in the time period that this took place. Not knowing to begin with whether the kids were even alive, and then when they were, not knowing if they'd ever be rescued. And we all know the ending to this film, so it surprises me just how tense it was. I was watching with my hands over my face. I couldn't watch it at times. You start doubting yourself. Like, did they definitely all survive? Did this happen? Did it all work out okay in the end? But to actually go in and see the effort and the kind of humanity that it took to rescue these kids, honestly, heartwarming, and it's a story about humanity at the end of the day, about not giving up. It's incredible. Incredibly tense, incredibly powerful. I chucked it on during the day on Saturday,
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, this will be a good documentary," and it is. It's a good documentary, but I wasn't ready for the emotional roller coaster it took me on.
Is that on Disney Plus?
It is on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that. I mean, like, yeah, now that you've talked about it, you've spoken about it was the same guy who did Free Solo, which is another nail biting, edge of your seat movie where you just feel sick the whole time. Yeah, you bumped that up my list. I gotta catch up with that really, really soon.
Yeah, I've it's very, very good. Um, and they use a lot of found footage of the actual time that it happened, but they actually recreated the cave. I think it was in Pinewood Studios, to actually shoot with the divers who took part in the rescue, to kind of recreate some of those scenes, because obviously they weren't filming those scenes underwater at the time.
That's quite interesting. It's like a tasteful version of the recreation that we all know in documentaries, but I assume it's done in a seamless way.
Yeah, very seamless, to the point where I was like, is this footage of what
That's
actually
good.
happened, or is it recreation? Because the film doesn't tell you that it's a recreation. So
Blurred the lines between reality and fiction.
I
Yeah,
had to Google it, and there was an interview with the directors where they were saying essentially they weren't sure if this was going to work, and they were filming it. And even while they were filming it, they weren't sure if it was too much, if what they were doing was right. I think obviously it helps that they actually had the divers who took part, which are just like a ragtag team of Brits. And I think there was an Australian in there as well. And you just think, like, it's just mad. Like, and these guys were the best cave divers in the world because it was their hobby. Like, none of the and they took
yeah.
part in this incredible rescue.
Is it claustrophobic? Like, is the cave diving like claustrophobic? Is it tight spaces and things? And
Yeah, are you claustrophobic?
there's something about underwater cave diving that scares the absolute hell out of me.
Yeah,
I
I
don't like.
never. I After watching this, I never ever want to go in a cave ever.
No, I used to watch. Do you used to watch like I don't know, most like, here in Britain, a lot of people used to watch like Deadly 60 on CBBC when they were like kids, or some adults probably do. And fair play to you, it was a good show, right? But that guy who was on the show, Steve Backshaw, he used to go to like all these dangerous environments, and whenever he used to go in caves, and that guy, he did everything. Like he could climb under anything and move anywhere, and he's a big bulky guy too. Anytime I watched that, I just felt sick. I hate things like that.
Okay, well, it's worth a
No, but in a
watch,
good way.
but yeah, you're not gonna feel great. Like, I definitely felt very claustrophobic through some of these sequences. I It's kind of horrible to watch.
Have you ever watched the Neil Marshall movie, The Descent,
I have
the
not.
horror movie? You'd like that because that is claustrophobia. The movie. It's all about is a group of women who go on a cave diving expedition together, and they come across some sort of like golem-esque creature in the caves, and it's all like really darkly lit. Half of it's in night vision, but they're actually crawling for the real spaces. It's actually filmed in cave networks,
Oh,
and it actually makes you feel so. Oh, it's the edgiest movie I've watched. It's a really successful horror movie. It's the same guy who did Dog Soldiers.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's his most critically sort of revered movie. Yeah, catch up on it. It's a good nervy watch.
I mean, I might have to wait a few years. I think I'm done with caves for a minute. I'm still
You get
not.
caved out.
I'm caved out after this. I don't want to see another cave ever again. They're definitely top 10 fears as being trapped in a cave after watching this film.
Yeah, I know. You see those people, even like underwater sea caves and everything. You people navigate these like vast labyrinths of caves, and you're just like, why are you doing that? Why are you into this? You are an absurd person. Get a life.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be interested to see if any of these guys ever cave dived again after this, because it's it's emotionally traumatic what they have to
Oh
go
man.
through. So, yeah, give it a watch. If you're claustrophobic, I don't know how you deal with that. just be warned. be warned, but it's kind of heartwarming. Get ready to have a good cry and feel good about humanity. Well, Kris, it was great catching up with you and talking about some of the films you've been watching over the weekend. Same time next week.
Yeah, always a pleasure. I'm always here. I'm just waiting by my computer until the next episode.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Film Angle. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris. Goodbye.